Imagine for a moment that once again you are a child. Your whole life ahead of you, nothing holding you back, and the only limit to what you can achieve is your own imagination. But what do you want to achieve? Well, as we're only children in this hypothetical situation, let's put goals like world domination to the side for a moment and focus on something more childlike. Let's learn to ride a bike. You've never ridden a bike before, but you know you want to. You know nothing will stop that feeling of freedom as the wind rushes through your hair while cruising down the street on your mighty stallion. Well, a magpie might, but other than that, the only thing stopping you is learning how to ride the thing. To begin our journey of freedom and adventure, we need just one thing: someone to teach us how to ride. We find someone, an older sibling, a parent, a bored neighbour, it doesn't matter. It's someone who knows how to ride a bike and can impart their wisdom of balance and speed on me. We throw our leg over the bike, and to the triumphant sound of violins crescendo, we promptly fall into the unforgiving black sea of bitumen. Not to worry, we're young and basically a 50-50 mix of pure energy and elastic. We will turn expectantly towards our cycling saviour, waiting to learn where we made our mistake and how to overcome this Tour de France scale tragedy, and get hit with, "You fell off the bike." Well, that's not helpful. We know we fell off the bike. The graze in our knee is a visceral reminder of the fact that we fell off the bike. How do I ride the bike without falling off? What did I do wrong to lose balance in such a significant style? You fell off the bike. Hurt, dejected, and resigned to the fact that I shall never ride off into the sunset on my tip shop special, I give up this childish dream and never ride again. Welcome to the world of terrible feedback. As silly as that analogy is, it illustrates the effect that poor feedback can have on a person. So as teachers, how can we overcome this? Firstly, let's look at what feedback is. Within the realm of education, feedback is information provided by a teacher, peer, or self on aspects of performance or understanding. Its purpose is to provide meaningful information about a student's strengths and areas for improvement, and above all, it must support them to progress in their learning. The QCAA says that effective feedback should be ongoing, individualised, timely, collaborative, and delivered in a way that the learner can reflect and act on the feedback and build their capacity for self-assessment. The book Classroom Instruction That Works by Dean, Hubble, Pitler, and Stone provides 4 recommendations for providing feedback to students. Firstly, feedback should address what is correct and elaborate on what students need to do next. Well, you sat on the bike correctly, but you weren't in motion when you took your feet off the ground and put them on the pedals. If you're not moving, you won't be able to balance. This highlights the connection between the learning objective and the feedback. It should aim to help students understand what was correct and contain specifics about what was incorrect, providing insight into how close the students are to meeting the criteria and guidance on what they need to do to close the gap. Secondly, feedback should be given in time to meet students' needs. Timing plays an integral role in providing feedback to students and varies depending on the nature of the task. Feedback that can be used by students to complete a task should be given immediately, as it encourages students to practice and helps to make connections between what the student is doing and the results they are achieving. If you push forward so you're moving before you put your feet on the pedals, the motion will help you keep balanced. Conversely, when students are busy figuring out a difficult task, the feedback should be delayed, as this can encourage the development of cognitive and metacognitive processing and can be beneficial when learning high concepts. Thirdly, feedback should be criterion referenced. It should address the performance of a task and provide specific guidance for improvement. Alright, you pushed off and put your feet up on the pedals really well, but now you need to look ahead at where you're going instead of looking at the handlebars. Rubrics can be used for this type of feedback, but differ depending on whether the rubric is for information type knowledge or skills and process type knowledge. Rubrics for information type knowledge focus on the extent of understanding of information and might include criteria related to the level of detail or the accuracy of understanding of the knowledge, where rubrics for skills or process type knowledge focus on whether a student can perform the skill or process without error and with fluency. Finally, students should be engaged with the feedback process. How do you think you went with riding that bike? Were you more stable when you were riding slowly or with some speed? By providing students with the opportunity for self-reflection and peer feedback, they are able to become lifelong learners. Now that we have a fairly comprehensive view on what feedback is, here are some tips to follow when giving feedback to the students. 1. Be as specific as possible. Statements such as "you did well" or "needs more work," although true, are not helpful. Where did the student do well? What part of the assessment needs more work, and in what regard? If the feedback doesn't give specific insight into the particulars of what was right and what needed work, how can the student possibly manage to incorporate that feedback into the rest of their work? If students come back to you with improved work, tell them why it is an improvement and how it was different from before. Tip 2. Be quick about it. As we looked at before, feedback is about timing. Now, not all tasks require immediate feedback, but when the student's ability to complete a task well will benefit from teacher feedback, give it to them. 3. Link the feedback to the goal. When giving feedback to the student, it is always helpful for the student to know why they are receiving the feedback that they are receiving. It should be clear to the student how the feedback that you're giving them will help them reach their goal. Tip 4. Give feedback considerately. The old adage, "It's not what you said, it's the way you said it," comes to mind here. If the student feels like they are just being critiqued rather than receiving valuable feedback, they are likely to disengage from learning and disregard the feedback that was given. The feedback sandwich is helpful in avoiding these situations by presenting something they did well, addressing an area that needs work, and then finishing with another positive attribute of the student's work. Giving feedback in a one-on-one environment is also crucial. While fostering a mild sense of competition in students may increase student engagement in certain classroom activities, feedback should not be a spectator sport. Just as before, this may lead to students feeling embarrassed about what the teacher has to say about their work and lead them to becoming disengaged. Tip 5. Get the students involved in feedback. This can be done in a number of ways. When giving feedback to a student, ask what they think about the task and the feedback you gave them. Did they agree with the strengths that you highlighted? Were they aware of the areas that needed work? Did they have any parts of the work that they are particularly proud of, or any areas which they feel they struggled? When students are engaged in this dialogue, they develop an awareness of their learning, which leads them to further develop their ability to self-assess their work in the future. Peer feedback is another useful tool here, as it once again helps students to develop an awareness of their learning. Finally, tip 6. Give feedback with your body. A small conference doesn't have to be held every time you wish to give students feedback on their work. Positive body language can be a useful tool for giving simple feedback in the classroom. Everything from a smile to a thumbs up or a stern expression are useful non-verbal cues that can be used as feedback. I hope that this video has been helpful and has given you some tools that you can take away to use in your classroom. Thank you.